Remember that feeling? The rush of adrenaline as you soared through pixelated worlds, a hero in your own right. The controller vibrating in your hands, a language you understood better than any textbook. This, my friends, is the legacy of the Nintendo Switch. But the Switch is more than just another console. It's a chameleon, a shapeshifter, and a gaming revolution disguised as a plastic rectangle. It's the console that defied expectations, that brought families together on road trips, and that turned living rooms into neon battlegrounds. But every legend has its humble beginnings, so grab your favorite controller, settle in, and let's rewind. Let's journey back to the birth of a giant, the rise of a legend, and the story of the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo has a very long history with video gaming platforms. The business behind the contemporary Nintendo Switch and the historic SNES has launched more systems than any other of the big three gaming console manufacturers. And contrary to popular belief, the NES was not Nintendo's first consumer game system to be released in the Western world. That honor goes to the portable series Game & Watch. In the years that followed, Nintendo established itself as a quirky console maker. Compared to Sony, Sega, and Microsoft, it always moved gaming in an unusual yet enjoyable direction. This transformed it into a firm that you can't help but like. Nintendo developed a slew of Game & Watch gadgets during the 1980s. And like other handhelds of the period, they were quite popular. Game & Watch portable gadgets played one game and included a clock, alarm, or both. Downloadable cartridges and games were absent. There was no internet to download them. Buy one game and stick with it. Nintendo employee Gunpei Yokoi saw a businessman on the Shinkansen playing with his calculator and decided to design a portable game device to pass the time. Game & Watches had one game each, totaling 60. Some arcade-based ones brought Donkey Kong, The Legend of Zelda, and Mario Bros. To the home. The next Nintendo platform needs a little introduction. The NES was designed for home 8-bit gaming. It was the best-selling system of its time, selling over 60 million units and helping North America rebound from the 1983 video game crash, which saw far too many consoles on the market as personal computers improved. Japanese consumers first saw the Family Computer, or Famicom, before the NES debuted in North America at CES in 1985. Launch games included Super Mario Bros., Ice Climber, Pinball, and Duck Hunt. A system with Super Mario Bros. Costs $99, while a deluxe set with 2 games and accessories costs $199.99. Another classic game system is the Nintendo Game Boy. The same team that made the Game & Watch produced the Game Boy, which combines portable capabilities with NES-style swappable cartridges to become one of the best-selling systems. Game Boy and Game Boy Color sales, launched in 1998, are expected to reach 120 million. It sold for $90 in America and included Tetris, which is credited with the tremendous sales. Nintendo makes Game Boy printers and magnifying screens with lights. Despite competition from the Sega Mega Drive, Nintendo's second major home platform was a hit. Sega's system was the first, but Nintendo's games drove it to the top of the 16-bit console sales list, selling approximately 50 million units worldwide. The Japanese version was called the Super Famicom, and Nintendo published various regional variants. To prevent games from one country from being played on another's system, it encoded cartridges. Next to the SNES was a bizarre and disastrous console debut, yet it is known as the first home VR system. Playing wireframe 3D games on the Virtual Boy required leaning against the visor on a table or cabinet. The plan was scrapped because most gamers felt uncomfortable about the space-age sensation. It never left Japan or the US and survived for months, not years. Nintendo's last cartridge-based home system was the N64, named after its 64-bit CPU. When it came out, many people battled for one, calling it the most powerful console of its time. The Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn prevented it from matching its predecessor's sales, selling slightly under 33 million units. However, experts consider the N64 a great Nintendo game console. Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and GoldenEye 007 are still regarded as classics, contributing to their success. Nintendo picked optical discs for the GameCube, although the Sony PlayStation 2, Microsoft Xbox, and Sega Dreamcast competed. The controller was changed from the N64's 3-handled to the GameCube's 2-handled, and game progress could be saved on 4 MB to 64 MB memory cards. However, it was a tremendous flop. Mario and Zelda returned to the GameCube, boosting its early popularity despite selling just 22 million units. This was a disaster, considering 153 million competing PlayStations were sold. This has not stopped it from becoming an iconic console. Nintendo updated the Game Boy with better graphics and additional colors for developers. The Game Boy Advance returned to the clamshell style of the original Game & Watch devices with the Game Boy Advance SP after 7 years of design modifications. That peculiarity may have served as an inspiration for the Nintendo DS that followed. The Pokémon Mini upgrade follows. Unfortunately, this release failed. Nintendo released the Pokémon Mini portable device in late 2001, their cheapest console ever at about $45. It came with the Pokémon Party Mini and came in several colors for the portable. It sold poorly, maybe because the Game Boy Advance was launched a few months earlier. Nintendo completely redesigned its portable strategy with the DS, even though it was working on new Game Boy Advance designs. Importantly, it has a new dual-screen design based on the Game & Watch. A touchscreen controlled games on the bottom display, while an LCD screen displayed what you were doing on the top. The Sony PSP was its main opponent, but backwards compatibility with Game Boy Advance games plus a few Evolution models with improved performance and features made the DS line the best-selling handheld gaming system series ever. Nintendo entered the 7th generation of home consoles with the Wii, competing with the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It outsold the other two temporarily. The Wii Remote, which the system tracked in 3 dimensions, revolutionized motion gaming. Finally, it produced the Wii Balance Board for fitness games. Its family-friendly design and game releases made it the most popular living room machine for a while. Nintendo employed popular 3D technology to develop their DS handheld. It turned the top screen of its clamshell device into 3D without glasses, unlike TVs. Despite consumer dissatisfaction with the 3D display and performance, the 3DS sold well. Later revisions included an XL model and improved variants. Small children who cannot use the 3D screen may use the 2D version. Nintendo responded to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One with the Wii U. Nintendo's first system, with HD visuals, is controlled via the touchscreen-enabled Wii U gamepad. After receiving positive reviews, the Wii U was a gaming disappointment, selling just over 13 million units. Retro gaming is popular, and before the Nintendo Switch's arrival in early 2017, the Japanese gaming giant let gamers of all ages play some of its best early games on a smaller NES system. 30 Nintendo Entertainment System games and a modern HDMI-connected controller were included. Nintendo discontinued consoles in 2017 after selling 2.3 million. Nintendo produced this console in a limited quantity in 2018 to meet demand. Following the success of the NES Classic Mini, the Super NES Classic Edition, which was released in 2017, was also a huge hit. By the end of 2018, it had sold over 5 million units and was no longer available. There were 3 variants of the SNES Classic Edition, just as there were 3 versions of the original SNES in Japan, North America, and Europe. 21 Super NES games were pre-installed, including the original release of Star Fox 2, which was discontinued in 1995. And now we come to the Switch, which was initially introduced in March 2017. It consists of a tablet-like device with a touchscreen and a docking station that allows it to be played on a television at home. So it's portable for playing while out and about, but it also works at home. The Joy-Con controllers are little pads that go on each side of the screen. They may also be installed on a central house controller device to provide a more classic controller feel to proceedings. Nintendo's first-party releases have been a big success on the system. The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokémon Sword and Shield, and Animal Crossing. New Horizons have all sold more than 20 million copies. Unlike the Wii U, the Switch has been a huge success, with 79 million devices sold until the end of 2020. There have also been various special editions, such as the 2021 Mario Red and Blue version. The Switch Lite is a version of the Switch without the detachable Joy-Cons and dock, which allows the Switch to be connected to a TV. Instead, the device is built for ultimate mobility. It has fixed controls and is now available in 4 colors, as well as special variants, most notably for Animal Crossing. The Switch Lite has been a success, with 13.5 million units sold by the end of 2020. Despite years of speculation, Nintendo has failed to release a Switch Pro, but but it did introduce an enhanced version of the Switch in 2021, the Nintendo Switch OLED. The OLED variant boasts a much enhanced display with deeper blacks and more vibrant colors, while the console feels more solid and has a considerably superior kickstand for playing on the move. In a nutshell, the Switch OLED is Nintendo's freshest and finest release, as well as the best Switch version available. If you enjoyed diving into the evolution of this iconic console, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to stay tuned for more gaming history content. Share your favorite memories of the Nintendo Switch in the comments below.